first lesson taught us in Freemasonry is that before entering upon any great or important undertaking, we should first invoke the blessing of God. The brethren of this lodge, reposing confidence in your integrity, in your zealous regard for the interests of Masonry, and your ability to discharge the special duties of the Master's Chair, have chosen you to occupy that honorable position. Are you willing to accept this important trust?
Good day, everyone. My name is Jemanel Cortez, a Bachelor of Public Administration student from Polytechnic University of the Philippines. I'm with my group mates who will be discussing with you today our investigation on the history of Filipino Freemasonry. This video presentation will include a discussion of the title, the background of the study, as well as the general understanding, controversy, arguments, and conclusion. Now, without further ado, let's begin. Before we proceed, I would just like to introduce the other researchers responsible for this study, my group mates, Johnpaul, Roseanne, Eva Me, Yan, Vince, Albert, and Charlie. Now, let's quickly break down the definition of Freemasonry. The Freemasonry and their mission. Freemasonry or Masonry refers to a civic movement promoting fraternity and good works. Freemasonry defined itself as a regular system of morality, veiled in allegory and illustrated by symbols. In particular, Masonic meetings are characterized by initiations and rituals. As such, Masonry has been viewed historically by church and government as secret societies. Its historical origins date as far back to the 17th century in England. During the Enlightenment period, during that time, an intellectual movement arose throughout Europe based on the rationalism, which held the only internal truths could be attained by reason alone. Members are organized into lodge, the basic organizational structure, which operates under the jurisdiction of the Grand Lodge. The main principles of Freemasonry insist that each member show tolerance, respect, and kindness in his action towards others, practice charity and care for the community as a whole, and strives to achieve high moral standards in his own personal life. Honor and integrity are the core of the Masonic belief system. Freemasonry can be found all over the world in various forms, including in the Philippines. In fact, it is the world's largest and oldest fraternity organization in the world. To be specific, it has over 6 million members worldwide and has been around for over 300 years now. Based on the Grand Lodge of the Philippines, there are about 20,000 active Filipinos Masons meeting in more than 350 lodges. In order to be a Mason, there are few things that men must have, and that is be a man aged 21 or older, believe in a supreme being, believe in the immortality of the soul, live an ethical life, and have a strong interest in the fraternity. It is not true that Freemasonry is only for politicians, military, or high-level people in society, but it is all male individuals only who have the capability to be a better man for others by following the centuries-old practices and teaching of Freemasonry. These photos you are seeing on the screen were handed to us personally when we requested them from a Mason. It's all about the facts about them and some Mason activities and privilege. If you are curious why Masonry is more known as a men's fraternity, it is simply because it is a man's fraternity and women are excluded from their organization. However, There is a separate Freemasonry lodge for women that was founded in 1913 in the United Kingdom. The fact that men and women don't mix in lodge causes some people to question the morality of such conduct, but it's nothing sinister. There is counterpart organization for the wives called the Order of the Eastern Star. It is optional membership if their wives is interested to join or not. While there are many symbols associated with Freemasonry, none are more universally recognizable than the square and compasses. It is well known enough that even those who are not personally acquainted with the fraternity understand the connection when they come across it. Like many aspects of Freemasonry, the precise origins of these symbols are unknown. However, it is thought to have roots in the medieval stonemasons guilds. Of course, for modern Mason, the square and compass symbol has a unique, profound meaning. It resides at the heart of Masonic lessons, knocking all brothers to live a life that is honest, true, and dignified. Any troubleman understands that when he sees this symbol, whether on the facade or a Masonic temple, the bumper sticker of a passing car, or a lapel pin of a colleague's, he is in the company of friends. Also, they have a secret words, handshake, and horn. They are used to recognize their brother when they pass by. Did you know that some of the national heroes and notable people in the Philippines are famous Freemasons, including Jose Rizal, our late President Emilio Aguinaldo, Andres Bonifacio, Marcelo H. Del Pilar, Antonio Luna, and many others? Yes. In the next slide, we will talk about the history and discover how they got to this organization. In 1856, Freemasonry was introduced to the Philippines when a Spanish naval officer organized a lodge in Cavite under the auspices of the Portuguese Grand Oriente Lusitano. Soon, other lodges under the jurisdiction of the British, Germans, but more particular under the Grand Orients of Spain gained their foothold, thus making the Philippines a melting pot of plural jurisdictions. Masonry, therefore, has existed in the country for more than 159 years. However, native Filipinos, generally referred to as Indios, were not allowed membership in the early decades of Masonry in the country. What may be considered the roots of true Philippine Masonry sprouted in 1889, when Loggia Revolution was organized by Filipino nationalist Graciano Lopez Hina in Barcelona, Spain, under the auspices of the Grand Oriente Español. This was in an era when Filipinos who went to Spain either to escape persecution or as students were advocating social and political reforms for the Philippines. Foremost among this group were Graciano Lopez Hina, Jose Rizal, Mariano Ponce, Gallicano Apacible, Jose Marie Panganiban, Antonio Luna, and Marcelo del Pilar. Lopez Hina was the first editor of the fortnightly La Solidaridad, the mouthpiece of the propaganda movement. He was initiated in 1882 at Loggia Porniver No. 2, and later served as its worshipful master. He became the master of Loggia Revolucion with Mariano Ponce as secretary. Marcelo del Pilar was also member of this lodge. It was here where Ariston Bautista, Gulicano Apacible, Jose Alejandrino, and many other Filipinos were initiated. The founding by Filipino Mason of Loggia Revolucion in Spain was first concrete step toward the formation of true Philippine Masonry. Lopez Hina with Marcelo del Pilar and other Filipino Masons organized a second lodge in Madrid, Loggia Solidaridad, No. 53. Chartered on May 15, 1890, also under the Grand Oriente Español. This lodge was actually The revived Lodges Solidaridad first founded in Barcelona by a mixed group of two Filipinos, Rafael del Pan and Ricardo Aylon, three Cubans, a Puerto Rican and two Peninsula Spaniards in 1886, but was dissolved in 1887. Upon its revival, one of its original members, Julio Llorente, became its worship master and Marcel del Pilar its senior warden. When Loggia Revolucion was dissolved, this lodge became the Lodge of Filipino expatriates in Spain. Marcelo del Pilar succeeded Llorente in January 1891 with the idea of propagating the teaching of Masonry, at the same time providing unifying force for the Filipino society. Marcelo del Pilar sought authority from Grand Master Miguel Moraita to establish Filipino lodges in the Philippines. Moraita, the Grand Master of the Grande Oriente Español, was a professor at the Central University of Madrid. A Republican and liberal, he was strongest ally of the Filipinos and the venerable president of the Hispano-Filipino Association. Antonio Luna and Pedro Serrano Loto were commissioned to return to the country and organize Filipino lodges. But Antonio Luna had to go to France and Lactao returned to the Philippines alone. Luna, on the other hand, together with Dr. Trinidad Pardo de Tavera and Dr. Ariston Bautista, founded a Mason club in Triangulo in Paris under the auspices of La Solidaridad No. 53. Juan Luna, Felix Pardo de Tavera, Osmundo Evangelista, and several others were initiated here. Pedro Serrano Lactao, with the help of Moises Salvador, initiated in Madrid, and Jose Ramos, initiated in London, organized Loggia Nilad. Ramos was its first master, Salvador its senior warden, and Serrano Lactao secretary. It was constituted on January 6, 1892, and duly approved by the Grand Oriente Español as Loggia Nilad No. 144 on March 20, 1892. In July 1892, after his return to the Philippines, Jose Rizal was appointed as an honorary worshipful master of the lodge, being the first Filipino lodge from which others were organized. It was called Mother Lodge. By special authority of the Grand Oriente Español, in exercise certain supervisory powers over all other lodge, and was also known as Loggia Central y Delegada. A year later, over 100 new members were added to its original founders. Loggia Balagtas No. 149 was next organized also in March 1892 in Sampaloc, Manila, by Moises Salvador, Arcadio del Rosario, Numeriano Adriano, Bartolome Paez, and Bonifacio Arevalo. Polinario Mabini, Doroteo Cortez, and several other patriots were initiated in this lodge. Filipino Lodge created an impact among its members. Soon, these members started forming Masonic triangulos scattered in Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. More than 80 triangulos were recorded organized in Manila Central and Southern Luzon, Negros, Cebu, Capiz, Davao, and Zamboanga. From here were established Lodge Labong No. 153 and Malabon by Pedro Camus Masala No. 154 in San Fernando, Pampanga by Ceciliano Hilario, Majestad No. 155 in Bacolor, Pampanga by Francis Joven, Dampulan No. 156 in Jaén, Nueva Ecija by Arturo Dancel, Bathala No. 157 in Ermita, Manila by Ambrosio Flores, Walana No. 158 in Calle Rozo,
Tondo, Manila by Ambrosio Flores. Taliba number 165 in Trozo, Tondo, Manila by Jose Dizon. Dalisay number 177 in Santa Cruz, Manila by Sixto Celis. Lusong number 185 in Tondo, Manila by Timoteo Paez and Paulino Zamora.
Freemasonry has a long history in the Philippines, dating back to 1700s. The first lodge was established in 1733 when the East India Company sent a group of Masons to the Philippines. Since then, Masonry has grown to become an important part of Filipino culture. Today, the Grand Lodge of the Philippines is the governing body of Masonry in the country. It is composed of over 200 lodges and more than 10,000 members. It is also a member of the United Grand Lodge of England, the oldest and largest Masonic organization in the world. The symbol of Philippine Masonry are similar to those found in Masonic organization. This includes the square and compasses, the all-seeing eye, and the blazing star. The symbols are used to represent the values of Freemasonry, such as truth, justice, and brotherly love. The symbols are also used in rituals of Freemasonry, which are ceremonies that members use to learn more about the organization and its teaching. These rituals are closely guarded secret, and only members of the organization are allowed to participate in them. The purpose of the Philippine Masonry is to promote a sense of brotherhood and fellowship among its members. The organization also seeks to help its members grown in knowledge and understanding to the world around them. It encourages members to be active in their communities and to use their knowledge to improve the lives of those around them. The organization also seeks to to promote the, and preserves the values of Freemasonry, such as truth, justice, and clarity. It encourages members to practice these values in their everyday lives, and to be an example of to them to others. Membership in the Philippine Masonry is open to all men of good character regardless of race, religion, or social status. To become a member, a man must be of legal age, have a good reputation, and demonstrate a belief in a supreme being. He must also be willing to abide by the law and regulation of the organizations. Once a man has been accepted in the organization, he must complete a series of rituals and ceremonies in order to become a full-fledged member. These rituals are closely guarded secrets, and only the members of the organization are allowed to participate in them. Members of Philippine Masonry enjoy a number of benefits. This includes the opportunity to meet and network with like-minded individuals, to gain knowledge and understanding to the world around them, and to participate in charitable activities. The organization also provides its members with a sense of camaraderie and support. The organization also provides its members with numbers of opportunities for personal and professional growth. Members have access to educational materials, workshops, and seminars, as well as the chance to take part in leadership role within the organization. Masonry is an important part of Filipino culture. It is an organization that promotes brotherhood, fellowship, and the values of Masonry. It is an opportunity to all men of good character and provide its membership with a number of opportunities for those looking to join Masonic organization. The Philippine Lodge is great place to start. It is a govern it is governed in Philippine Masonry and provide its member with camaraderie and support.
Hi, sir. This is Johnpaul Bandojo to report Filipino Freemasonry controversies. Mostly intellectual and big names in society make up the group of Masonry in the Philippines like Andres Bonifacio, Marcelo H. Del Pilar, Emilio Aguinaldo, Dr. Jose Rizal. The traditional view is the Freemasonry is a global conspiracy which has taken on an anti-religious character. It is viewed as shadowy organization which aims to infiltrate the corridors of power, all the better to facilitate the rise into prominence of fellow Masons to the exclusion of all others. The governing elites and the Philippines is dominated by Masons. Masons were central figures in the long campaign to secure independence for the Philippines in war and peace. The other criticism that seems to hold weight in some circles is that Masons might promote, advance, or elect or other Masons to leadership positions within their local communities, governments, and businesses. Also, some of famous controversies about Freemasonry are political, usually involving allegations of control of government; religious, usually involving allegations of anti-Christian or satanic beliefs or party practices. Freemasons are also believed worshipping of the devil. Cries of Masonic conspiracy were raised, for it was true that Masons figured prominently in attempts to enforce a strict definition of the separation of church and state. But it was also true that the issue was also important to non-Masonic groups, such as the Evangelicals. The case of the Philippine Independent Church was a special one, for it had always had friendly ties with the Masons as some of its clergy were Masons themselves. The famous the famous fight led by Claro M. Recto, not a Mason, and Jose P. Laurel, a Mason, to make results, novels, mandatory reading in all schools. Also recto, reaction to what he perceived to be a legitimate religious pressure exerted on the electorate by the Catholic clergy in the elections of 1953 and 1995. Recto even suggests in an article in the Lawyer's Journal 1958 that a constitutional amendment be passed to further clarify the definition of the separation of church and state in the Constitution.
Charlie Jr. Basila Tiletile, Philippine Freemasonry Controversy. In recent years, the controversy surrounding the Freemasons has increased as the organization has become more visible. The Freemasons have been accused of being a secret society with its members sworn to secrecy. They are also accused of being exclusive and elitist with a limited membership and exclusive privileges. In addition, some believe that Freemasons are involved in political activities such as influencing elections and influencing opinion. The Freemasons have also been accused of, of being a cult, with its members engaging in strange rituals and practices. This accusation is difficult to prove, as the Freemasons are secretive organization and not share participate practices with or some have argued Freemasons are treated elementary disbanded. The Philippine government has taken as a stance on the controversy surrounding Freemasons. The government has declared the Freemasons are not a threat to democracy, and their activities are not illegal. However, the government has also said that it will investigate any allegation of illegal activities or activities that could threaten the nation's security. The government has also said that that it will be interfere with the activities of the Freemasons as long as they are not engaging in activities that are illegal or could threaten the nation's security. The government has also said that it will be interfere with activities of Freemasons as long as they are not engaging activities are threaten the nation's security. The, the church has also taken a stance on the controversy surrounding the Freemasons. The church has declared that Freemasons are not a threat to religion and that their activities are not contrary to the teaching of church. However, the church has also said that it will be investigate any allegation of activities that could be seen as contrary to the teaching of the church. The church has also said that it will not interfere with the activities of these Freemasons as long as they are not engaging in activities that contrary to the teaching of the church. The church has also said that it will not interfere with activities of Freemasons as long as they are not engaging in activities contrary to the church.
Hello, good day. I'm Mandraga, and my topic is about argument in the history of Filipino Freemasonry. The argument is what sparked the libertarian ideologies of Filipino revolutionaries. June 12, 1898, it was the first time the Philippine flag was raised valiantly as the first president declared its independence from Spain. Not because we were given freedom by our colonizers at the time, as they were still on our homeland soil, fighting for the rights of what they stole from us. Rather, it was out of a strong sense of nationalism, an intense desire to claim what is originally ours. It was a loud battle cry for a continuous revolutionary fight for all the rights that were denied to our fellow men. An endeavor which was sparked by a secret light of enlightenment. Liberal ideologies brought with the growing populations of Freemasonry in the Philippines. In the Philippines, the first record of individual Masonry was dated to have been in 1756. It was documented in Pope Clementi's In Eminenti. It was the trial of two Irishmen in Manila who were charged because of their identity as Freemasons, but then were later released because they were also British citizens. In 1868, when Queen Isabella II dethroned and the Spanish Revolution took place in Spain, one of the leaders of the said revolution was General Juan Freem. He was also a Freemason. The revolution also led to the success of liberal thinking, flourishing in Spain, which also enabled reformation in Spanish colonies. Governor General Carlos Maria de la Torre, another liberal and Freemason, then assigned to the Philippines. He was known to be the most loved Governor General because of his reforms, that allowing free public discussion of social and political issues. Under his administration, education was also partially secularized. He controlled over some education institutions and transferred the friars. The education institution was transferred from the friars to the government. He also supported the press, lifting bans on censorship of media, and gained favor from the labor force by providing exemptions from forced labor and payment of tributes. When General Freem was assassinated in 1870, and General de la Torre was recalled to Spain a year later, Governor General Rafael de Izquierdo was assigned to the Philippines, and he took some of the privileges of the last administrations or the previous administration. A decision not well received by the newly formed liberal minds of the Filipinos. And that was the start of craving for that opium called freedom. As the Filipinos taste the goodness of the previous administrations, they realized they could be treated equally as the Spaniards. They began seeking and demanding these rights from the government. This resulted in mutinies and revolutions, claiming thousands of lives in the process. Among the first, and one among the important ones, is the Cavite Mutiny, where the liberal friars, Padre Gomez, Burgos, and Zamora, were executed in Publon in February 17, 1872. This martyrdom sparked a rebellion and inspired quasi-Masonic forces that will be formed in the years to come. Fast forward to the last 2 decades of the 19th century. The improved economic conditions in the Philippines granted some Filipinos a chance to travel and study in Europe. In 1888, Filipinos alongside Spanish Freemasons formed an alliance in Madrid known as Asociación Hispano-Filipina, which was presided by Miguel Moraita. The said propagandist movement provided a safe place for reformists such as Dr. Jose Rizal, Graciano Lopez Haina, Marcelo del Pilar, Mariano Ponce, and Antonio Luna in expressing their increasing awareness of political and social issues, as well as their dissatisfaction with the status quo in the Philippines under the Spanish regime. Later on, Lopez Haina, along with other Filipino reformists and liberal thinkers, they published La Solidaridad, a Filipino newspaper in Barcelona, exposing the difficult conditions in the Philippines. It also served as a defense against malicious and slanderous attacks from the friars and an avenue for publishing studies about the Philippines and the Filipinos. Filipino propagandists in Europe, they become close affiliated with the European Masonic lodges. Eventually, these lodges found their organization the Philippine soil with the authorization of Miguel Moraita. Miguel Moraita was also dedicated his life to promoting and loving the interests of Filipinos in the Spanish Parliament. And then, Marcelo del Pilar helped implant Freemasonry in the Philippines. Nilad Lodge number 144 was the first ever Philippine Masonic lodge in the country and was known as the mother lodge of all succeeding lodges, which already grew to a total of 35 by 1893. While Freemasonry became an avenue for progressive and liberal ideologies and might be closely associated with revolutionary movements, their means were peaceful, as their fundamental purpose only revolved around education, research, and fundraising for reformist works and campaigns. It was through these lodges that two novels of Dr. Ceresal were distributed in secret, and so, opening the eyes of many Filipino intellectuals. Contrary to popular belief, the novels did not inspire the revolution just yet. Like Dr. Jose Rizal, Filipino Masons only sought to be recognized and be given the right to self-rule as a province of Spain. What spread the fire of revolution was not the liberal thinking sown in the minds of the Filipino, but the deafness and failure of the Spanish government to heed the reforms the Freemasons diligently pushed. Through the influence of the Katipunan, Filipino revolutionaries did what cannot be written on paper, and so the fight for freedom began. Thank you.
Good day, everyone. This is my reporting about the arguments of Freemasonry. I have two topics about arguments. This is Jose Rizal, anti-Mason, and also William Morgan, anti-Mason. So first is about Jose Rizal, Freemasonry, a fraternal organization that took a root in Europe and spread all over the world. And next is William Morgan, who is believed to have been kidnapped and killed by Masons. Rizal adopted the Masonic name de Masalang when he was anointed under the Gran Oriente de España. Rizal said to have been influenced to join Masonry by Miguel Moraita, a history professor at the Universidad de Madrid. Revolutionaries such as Andres Bonifacio, Apolinario Mabini, Ladislao Diwa, Marcelo H. del Pilar, Juan Luna, Deodato Arellano, Graciano Lopez Haina, H. Pardo de Tavera, and so many other in the propaganda movement and the Liga Filipina were also Masons, and such as were automatically excommunicated as decreed for all Catholics becoming Masons since 1738 and reaffirmed by the Catholic bishops Conference of the Philippines, 1990. However, a controversy remains on whether or not Rizal recanted Masonry before he died. There were allegedly 3 eyewitnesses to his retraction: Father Bolger and Visa of the Society of Jesus and Captain Rafael Dominguez, who claimed that Rizal had signed a document of retraction and conversion before he was executed. Captain Rafael Dominguez, who was with Rizal during Rizal's last hours, mentioned it is in his notes, which were an hour-by-hour record of Rizal's last moments. Zafra, 1951. On the other hand, others believe that the documents produced by the Jesuits were fake and altered, and the testimonies given were coached. They assert that the Catholic Church only started to claim Rizal as their own once they realized that the people had learned to love and admire Rizal. Fajardo, 1996. William Morgan, born 1974, was a resident of Batavia, New York, whose disappearance and presumed murder in 1826 ignited a powerful movement against the Freemasons, a fraternal society that had become influential in the United States after Morgan announced his intention to publish a book exposing Freemasonry's secrets. He was arrested or trumped up charges. He disappeared soon after and was believed to have been kidnapped and killed by Masons after Western New York. Book on Freemasonry. Morgan claimed to have been made a master mason while he was living in Canada, and he appears to have briefly attended a lodge in Rochester. In 1825, Morgan received the Royal Arch degree to Leroy's Western Star Chapter number 33, having declared under oath that he had previously received the 6 degrees that preceded it. It has never been established if he actually received these degrees, and if so, from which lodge. Morgan then attempted unsuccessfully to have established or visit lodge and chapters in Batavia, but he was denied participation by members who disapproved of his character and even questioned his claims to Masonic membership. Morgan finally announced that he was going to publish an expose titled Illustrations of Masonry, critical of the Freemasons and revealing their secret degree ceremonies in detail. Morgan declared that the local newspaper publisher, David K. Miller, had given a sizable advance for the work. Soon after Morgan disappeared, Miller published Morgan's book, which became a bestseller because of the notoriety of the events surrounding his disappearance. Miller did not say that Morgan had been murdered, but that he had been carried away. Accounts circulated of Morgan having assumed a new identity and settled in Albany, Canada, or the Cayman Islands, where he was said to have been hanged as a private. New York Governor Dewitt Clinton, also a Mason, offered $1,000 reward for information about Morgan's whereabouts, but it was never claimed. The circumstances of Morgan's disappearance and the minimal punishment received by the kidnappers caused public outrage, and he became a symbol of the right of free speech and free press. Protests against Freemasons took place in New York and the neighbor states. Masonic officials disavowed the actions of the kidnappers, but all Masons were under a cloud of suspicion. Thurlow with a New York politician gathered discounted opponents of President Andrew Jackson, a Mason, into an anti-Masonic party, which gained the support of such notable politicians as William H. Seward and Millard Fillmore.
Hello, I am Vince Quinabandal from BPA 14, and I will be discussing the Philippine Freemasonry conclusion. So let's go. As we all know that the Philippine Freemasonry in the history has played an enormous role and critical role in the society or in the country when it comes to nation building and proving patriotism during the Spanish colonial period. And Philippine Masonry is an important organization whose members contributed to the birth and growth of nationalism in the country. Many of the Masons joined the campaign for reform and the revolution against Spain. It should be stressed that Masons, as individuals, citizens, took part in the revolution, but Masonry as an organization did not. Masonry in the Philippines grew and developed because of favorable government policies towards the fraternity. Although Masonry closed down during the 1942 to 1945 during the Japanese occupations in the country, other factors helped it re-emerge and flourish. It has an organizational structure that clearly defines its constitution. The Masonic lodges in Manila and the provinces functions under the Central Grand Lodge of the Philippines. When assailed by critics and opponents, Masons held on their principles of religious tolerance and the separation of church and state. Finally, Masons are able to correct the impressions that they are secretive and elitist through public functions and community service. And after all, organizations in general may contribute negatively or positively to nation building. Indeed, some organizations only promote hatred and bigotry, but Masonry, which has had a long and remarkable history in the Philippines, awaits more detailed research, although some may find fault in Masonry's stance during martial law years. But Masonry's contribution to nationhood has been valuable. It has instilled and advocated liberal thinking, religious tolerance, and community service. So, all of that are all uh, good building tools towards democracy. So, that would be our conclusion when it comes to the history of Freemasonry in the Philippines during the one of the darkest time of our history, which is during Spanish colonization. So thank you so much for listening. Once again, I am Vince M. Quinabandal from BPA 14, and thank you for listening.